Greetings and welcome to the Culture Ward, where we dissect and dismember pop culture in all its forms. My name is Jess, and today we are talking about the enduring notion that audiences today have drastically, fundamentally different sensibilities and expectations than audiences 20, 15, even just 10 years ago when it comes to the type and content of entertainment media they enjoy. It is the myth of the modern audience that has been debunked over and over, yet apparently still persists in Hollywood and the entertainment journosphere. For the past several years, companies have been chasing the ideal of a modern, more progressive and woke customer base. They have been operating on the assumption that, as social views and conventions do indeed get more progressive or liberal over time, so too must the tastes and desires of the average consumer. And that may be true to some extent, but evolving views on general social issues does not mean that people want to be clobbered over the head with these ideas at every turn. Just because a person becomes more open to the concept of gay marriage, for instance, doesn't mean that person wants to see gay marriage in every piece of content that's placed in front of him, from movies to TV shows to commercials for car insurance. Being accepting of LGBT rights doesn't mean you want to see gay romance in every scene. Being supportive of racial equality doesn't mean you want to see white people demonized and denigrated in every movie and show. Being an ally of feminism doesn't mean we want girl bosses to emasculate and replace all male characters. And we know it's true because we've seen this exact thing happen in real time. I mean, look at all the film, shows, video games, and media franchises that have been sacrificed on the altar of the modern audience. The Rings of Power took the unmatched work of Tolkien and turned it into an unmitigated work of tokenism by updating it for a modern audience. Unfortunately, black dwarves and elves don't make sense within the context of the source material, nor does the masculinization of Galadriel, and hijacking the lore just pissed off the fandom. By trying to shove identity politics into a beloved fantasy franchise, Amazon has managed to squander and alienate its own audience. Disney likewise attempted to update a classic story for the modern age just recently by making Snow White a person of color, as well as a feminist girl boss. The star of Snow White, Rachel Zegler, spoke multiple times about how they were making a story that was modernized, suggesting that the original story was outdated and the concepts were old-fashioned.
The reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated.
That movie likely cost Disney a $200 million loss after its disastrous box office run. In a similar instance, Disney also ruined Mulan, the beloved animated classic about the girl who pretended to be a man to join the army so her father wouldn't have to. The original was a beautiful story of honor and perseverance. We witnessed a young girl struggle to prove herself among men who were stronger by using her wits to gain an advantage. As opposed to the remake, which was a disastrous failure, where the girl was always stronger, faster, and better than all the men around her without even trying. The only obstacle she faced was her own self-doubt, a story formula replicated many times in recent years. Speaking of Mary Sue's, let's not forget about Lucasfilm with its rapid destruction of Star Wars via its own female lead who was stronger and better at being a Jedi than the powerful villain, despite not having any training or practice. Once again, she only had to believe in herself to win the day. And Warner Brothers, they're barely surviving after years of crushing losses caused by pandering and preaching and clinging to the idea of a modern audience. And they seem to have still failed or refused to read the room. It was recently announced that in its upcoming adaptation of the Harry Potter series on HBO, they're already making controversial casting decisions that are almost certain to anger fans, impact ratings, and cost them money. Velma, Ghostbusters 2016, James Bond, The Witcher, Resident Evil, Doctor Who, all updated for modern audiences, all abysmal failures. Every one of these IPs was massive, indestructible, and beloved by legions of fans, yet every one has seen declining popularity, flatlining ratings, and downright box office failures costing studios not millions, not tens of millions, not even hundreds of millions at this point, but billions of dollars. And then we come to Marvel. For years now, they have been bleeding fans, as the so-called MCU has alienated a large part of its audience by either replacing legacy male characters, often with direct female stand-ins, or by emasculating and feminizing its male characters. The Marvels, for instance, was a huge flop, costing Marvel hundreds of millions of dollars. Agatha All Along, Ms. Marvel, Secret Invasion, all representation and no substance, and thus all ratings nightmares. Yet Marvel too can't seem to learn the lessons of their own failures, or the failures of their competitors. Just recently, 2 of the stars of the upcoming Fantastic Four movie let slip that they would be updating and reimagining their characters from previous iterations. Joseph Quinn, who plays Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch in the film, stated that he was speaking about previous iterations of the character with Kevin Feige and discussing where we are culturally. He said, quote, "He was branded as this womanizing devil-may-care guy," referring to Johnny Storm. "But is that sexy these days? I don't think so. This version of Johnny is less callous with other people's feelings. Ugh." Vanessa Kirby, who plays Sue Storm, aka the Invisible Woman in the movie, stated that she thought playing her character like the traditional version would make her look like a doormat. She said, quote, "If you played an exact 60s Sue today, everyone would think she was a bit of a doormat. So figuring out how to capture the essence of what she represented to each generation, where the gender politics were different, and embody that today was one of the greatest joys of this." Quinn and Kirby, in other words, were trying to find out what would make their characters, quote, "interesting to a modern audience." And who do they think their audience is? Who do they imagine wants to see a kinder, gentler, feminist Johnny Storm, and strong, masculine, and controlling Sue Storm? Well, we actually do know who these coastal elites, the actors, directors, Hollywood executives, and the access media, are referring to when they invoke the modern audience. It's their friends, associates, colleagues. It's their circle of influence, the Hollywood bubble in which they live, play, and work. It's their insular group of like-minded, pandering yes men and it girls, and like most of the activist groups out there, be it the LGBT activists, or the DEI activists, or the BLM and defund the police activists, they have a serious problem of perception. They think their groups, their audiences, are bigger than they are. Or not. Another possibility is that these creatives aren't looking to expand their reach to a wider audience, as logic and good sense would seem to demand, but to contract their sphere of influence to a smaller, dedicated, and, most importantly, worthy group of special people like them. Regardless of which of these is correct, the corporate entities that finance these endeavors can only indulge such notions for so long before the red ink starts piling up. And we have been getting glimpses of these companies starting to pull the brakes on the destruction of IPs for the sake of identity politics, and the habit of blaming fans, the paying customers, for the resulting failures. We see them attempting to rein in rogue creatives when they tell the audience to fuck off. But so many people in the entertainment industry have been gaslit into believing their own rhetoric that it's obviously going to take time. Thus, you still have people like Vanessa Kirby and Joseph Quinn invoking this failed ideology. Where is this modern audience? Won't someone tell them the show is starting? Because all of these modern takes on classic IPs seem to be missing one key ingredient: the audience. Go woke, go broke has been a popular refrain online amongst haters, right-wingers, and bigots who just hate representation and diversity in their entertainment. And it has, almost without fail, been an accurate prediction. Remember when Bud Light lost billions in the aftermath of a certain ad campaign? Further, countless movies and shows have crashed, burned, flopped, and floundered, and billions of dollars have been, almost literally, burned in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the entertainment industry. But it doesn't have to be a set-in-stone rule. Entertainment properties for generations have managed to include messaging on social issues without destroying the industry. There is a way to champion just causes and advocate for social change, and applaud the successes of minority and underrepresented groups in film and television without alienating the majority of your audience. But it requires, talent, skill, and effort. It requires good writing and storytelling. It requires humility and appreciation for the people, both the ones you want to help and the ones you're trying to reach. You can't scold the audience or lecture them or intentionally drive people away.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
One need only look to the Harry Potter brand for a refutation of the modern audience narrative. Despite extremely loud and vitriolic controversy surrounding J.K. Rowling's views on a certain issue, women's rights, sales of Harry Potter books and merch and theme park tickets have increased every year, significantly. While Rowling has repeatedly refused to kowtow to the mainstream media and activist community on this topic, that which shall not be named, the modern audience has steadfastly continued to support her, either in direct defiance of the woke mob or with complete and utter indifference to it. Either way, it doesn't matter. The audience for Harry Potter has not changed. The stories are the same, the messages are the same, the values and lessons and characters are the same, and it is these things that audiences, modern or otherwise, appreciate. Hogwarts Legacy was released in 2023 amid backlash and controversy over Rowling's transcendental views, including a massive boycott effort. Despite the vitriol, the game became one of the best-selling video games ever, selling more than 30 million copies since its release. And while it had some progressive elements, including an openly transgender character, it ultimately honored the source material and gave fans what they wanted: a Harry Potter game, unburdened by overt identity politics and woke messaging. It is a rare example of one of those things that can introduce progressive ideas skillfully without beating the audience over the head with it, and without sacrificing good storytelling or character development, and it was a huge success as a result. So listen up, Hollywood. Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, Disney, Marvel, all you people out there still clinging to the notion of the modern audience. It does not exist. At least not the way you imagine it does. Modern audiences expect representation, but they also demand good stories, same as they always did. Good stories that have strong characters, male and female, masculine and feminine, same as they always were. They expect diversity and equality, but they also demand the most talented writers, directors, and actors, and not just the ones that tick the most boxes, same as always. They expect LGBT inclusion, but never at the expense of the narrative. They expect modern themes and messaging, but refuse to be lectured and scolded. Basically, modern audiences are modern people who expect the world to look like the world they live in, but who still demand and desire the same things they always did. Good, well-written, moving, emotional stories that are enlightening, uplifting, satisfying, and above all, entertaining. Anyway, what do you think about modern audiences? Do you have anything to add, change, or tell me I'm wrong about? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching the video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Bye for now. I hope to see you next time in the Culture Ward.